Welcome to the Pre-Post Film Review. I'm John Asquith.
And I'm Matt Stevenson. For those of you who are new to the podcast, the way it works is that we watch the trailer for a film when that's released, and then we'll record our impressions and thoughts about the film and what we kind of expect it's going to be like. And then once the film is actually released and out in cinemas, John and I will watch the film and then come back and do a big full review and compare it to the trailer thoughts and see if they kind of matched up and what we thought of the end product. So the first part of the podcast will be completely spoiler free, so you can listen to that before you see the film, and then the review section is going to be chock full of spoilers, so make sure you watch the film before you tune into that part of the podcast. So this episode we're going to be chatting about Jurassic World. Here's our trailer thoughts.
You're gonna have so much fun. And remember, if something chases you, run.
We have learned more in the past decade from genetics than a century of digging up bones. A whole new frontier has opened up. We have our first genetically modified hybrid.
All right, we're here to talk about the first trailer that has just recently dropped. That's what the cool kids say, right?
Yep.
Just recently come out for...
Just recently appeared on YouTube.
Yep, that's right. For Jurassic World, the fourth Jurassic Park film in the franchise. Mm-hmm. There's a bit of weight attached to this one, I want to say, because the first Jurassic Park film is an incredibly important film to you and me,
yes.
Matt. It was sort of like, and I think this is true for a lot of people in our generation, that it was somewhat of a turning point. Seeing it when it first came out, and that it clicked something in our heads about a love for cinema and wanting to work and be involved in film in some capacity. And to this day is like one of our favourite movies and pretty flawless in our eyes. But I know our opinions of the sequels is nowhere near that high, obviously.
Yeah.
So... what are your thoughts on Jurassic Park 4? And maybe briefly, what are your thoughts on The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3? Just, to like set the scene.
Yeah. Well, I guess you kind of set it up perfectly in terms of the first film. And then I kind of feel that each subsequent film I've seen it as a lesser film. It's gone down in quality, each sequel for me. I think that's probably like the general consensus of the franchise at this point.
Yeah.
Though having said that, I think this is a bit of a weird one because it's not like a Star Wars franchise or an Indiana Jones franchise where if you love one, you kind of by default love them all, or at least them as a trilogy.
Yeah.
And these are kind of their
so
own
separate.
stand-alone little films. I feel like it's okay to really dislike maybe the third one or the second one and still love the first one. You can kind of quite easily separate them from one another.
I agree.
So I think there's in that sense there's sort of less pressure on this fourth film to be anything more than just a fun action adventure film, which I guess is kind of what I'm expecting having seen the trailer. I guess I'm a little bit worried that there's a little bit too much CGI. It looks a little bit shiny and CGI-y, which I kind of remember having similar problems with in the third film. though there wasn't as much CGI, it did have a feel to it that wasn't as tactile and real as the first film. So
definitely.
Spielberg kind of nailed it in the first two in terms of a sense of realism that sort of hasn't been captured in the third, and perhaps not in the fourth, at least judging by the trailer. But having said that, I still think it could be fun. My expectations aren't too high. I'm just going in. It's never going to touch the first film.
Yeah.
Probably be about on par with 2, which I actually quite like. It's got problems, but I enjoy it more than most, which might be the Spielberg fanboy in me sort of sticking up for it. So I think it'll be on par or below 2, but better than 3 is what I'm pitching at the moment.
Okay, yeah.
How do you feel after seeing the trailer?
Or
how do you feel about 2 and 3 as well?
Yeah, okay. Well, in general, it will come as no surprise to everyone that I pretty much agree with you. I think, similar to you, I have a bit of a soft spot for The Lost World. Yeah. I think overall I'm pretty positive on it. Yeah. I don't love it, but maybe I'm more forgiving of it, as you said, because of the Spielberg influence. But I also think that's a reason why it's actually still pretty good.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
His touch is still there, obviously. 3 is pretty forgetful and quite bad at times.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I struggle to remember much of that film.
Yeah. There's nothing great in it. It didn't really do anything new with the franchise at all. It was just like a cheap excuse to go back to the island.
To introduce some new dinosaurs, the Spinosaurus and the pterodactyls.
Which no one was particularly pleased with. I think the pterodactyl sequence is like probably the best part of it. I think there's some genuine kind of build-up of tension and atmosphere, and it was cool to see them at the time on the big screen. But yeah, like it's not great. As far as Jurassic World goes, and this trailer, I'm pretty excited for it. I wouldn't say my hopes are ridiculously high, but I think I will come out quite positive on it. But perhaps that's also based on having read interviews with the director where he seems, quite a smart guy, and he's approaching it in quite an intelligent way. It's not just another blockbuster cash grab or anything, from his perspective anyway.
Yeah, it sounds like he's looking at it from the right perspective.
Yeah.
Like he's got his head screwed on straight in terms of respect and admiration for the first film.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a big thing that was missing from Jurassic Park 3, actually. It just felt very almost like a cynical movie in the sense that it purely existed to carry on the franchise.
Make money and
make money.
Sell more dinosaur toys.
That's right, yeah. And I mean, that's obviously a big motive behind this one as well, but at least from the director's standpoint, there's more to it.
Yeah.
He's got his heart in the right place. The trailer is okay. I think it's not the best cut trailer. Like, it's not edited the most exciting way.
There's nothing, that stands out about it.
Yeah, and I realise that they're holding back a lot of things, but you can do that in sort of an artistic way. And we often talk about when a trailer's good, it's almost like a short film in itself.
Yeah.
And this really isn't like that. It kind of feels like a trailer from 10 or 15 years ago. It just feels very stock standard to me, and I was hoping for something a little more creative. I like the touch of the Jurassic Park theme with the kind of somber piano notes. Yep. I think that's good, cut over like people screaming and running around. But it just feels like there is something missing, and I'm hoping that that's not in the movie.
I was just going to say that. You'd hope that there's more to it, because the trailer itself basically just suggests that there's a park, they've genetically modified a dinosaur, and it escapes. That's it.
Yeah.
That's as far as the trailer goes, and that's meant to be enough to get us excited. So
yeah, that's right.
Hopefully there's more to it than that they're holding back.
Yeah.
Perhaps not doing it in a very interesting way.
Yeah, that's right. Having said that, I think, I'm really looking forward to maybe the first half of the movie where the kids just go to the park.
Just hang out on the cool ride.
Maybe that they should just make a movie where everything's okay, because it's just so cool anyway.
Yeah.
Like, all the rides look great, and it is great. There's something in me that, I guess, the kid in me that gets really excited just to see dinosaurs, brought to life in that way.
Like a dinosaur theme park would be fucking cool.
It would be amazing. Yeah. Come on, scientists. Make it happen. And in general, the idea of the genetically modified dinosaur is okay.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? That's probably the big thing of this trailer, right? Like, that's the thing that differentiates Jurassic World from... Other than that it's now a big, fully functioning theme park. But the big thing is that they've created this genetically modified super dinosaur.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, how do you feel about that reveal?
I think... well, I'll reveal right now. I think the... that was stupid. I think the general idea is actually kind of cool, and like in terms of thematic stuff, I like that people aren't happy with dinosaurs as they are. We have to like make a new one.
Yeah, like humans are never satisfied.
Exactly, yeah. And that, of course that's our downfall. I like that, but I'm more worried about the actual design and the implementation of that kind of stuff. I think I don't know what it's going to look like. Could look a bit silly maybe. Yeah. And also, as much as I like the idea, I also love the T-Rex and the raptors, and part of Jurassic Park 3's problem was that the Spinosaurus wasn't an interesting...
Just wasn't cool.
Yeah, it wasn't cool, yeah. It just didn't look as good as a T-Rex looks.
No.
And when you've got, the antagonists of the movie being animals, like, they need to look cool because they can't do much else, you know. They can't talk, obviously. Yeah. Maybe this one can.
Oh, Jesus.
I hope not. So I don't know. I'm wary of it, but I like the general idea. I mean, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think I'm a bit more negative than you on it.
Yeah.
I agree in terms of the thematic stuff behind it. I think that's smart. And it seems like, in a way, a natural progression of the themes of the first film in terms of the genetic science. And
that's right.
Pushing it to its limits.
Just to push in briefly, that kind of stuff happens a little bit in the books as well. Genetically
modifying dinosaurs.
Yeah, they sort of one of them they even give like a camouflaging ability where it's almost invisible.
Is this for in the Lost World book? Or I haven't read either of them.
I actually can't remember. I think it's in the Lost World, but that could be wrong.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, like so. It's not coming from nowhere.
Thematically tied into the source. Yeah.
But again, that doesn't mean it will be.
Yeah, exactly. And the flip side of that is that it genuinely does feel a little cheap to me. It's kind of like. How do we make... It's almost like they're falling into the trap of the thematic trap the characters are falling into, right? Like, as filmmakers, they're like, the T-Rex isn't big and cool enough. Like, how can we make a bigger, cooler dinosaur? Oh, let's just fucking create one, you know? Which, it just feels a little lazy unless it's really tied in thematically and smartly into the story. And if it looks fucking cool and it seems like it was worth it. Like, seriously.
Yeah, no, totally. I think, that's such a good point that it's almost meta in this sense, isn't it? And I wonder if that has occurred to them or not, because that would be really cool if it had.
If the film's a huge flop, like
it's all on purpose. It's like, you aren't satisfied with dinosaurs, so we made a new one. And the movie's shit.
That would be pretty amazing.
Yeah. I really like Chris Pratt as an actor.
Yeah, actually, that's a pretty big plus.
Yeah, I think he's awesome. Although, having said that, the couple of shots we get of him in the trailer are kind of he doesn't seem to be his normal self.
No, he's looking very serious and
frowny. I hope he's not Mr. Serious all the time. Yeah. Not that he has to be funny, but
I hope he's charismatic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. You want him to be sort of Sam Neill or like a Harrison Ford type.
Yeah, from the trailer, it seems like he's being pitched more as a Muldoon character from the first film rather than a Sam Neill character. And what you want is a Sam Neill character.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
especially because you'd never have Muldoon as a lead. He's good as the side guy. Yeah. It's like, I warned you, oh, clever girl. But he never actually says I warned you, but he thought it. You can tell. So I'm not sure, but I have faith because he's such a good actor that he'll elevate whatever role that is anyway. Yeah. And then there's a shot at the end with him on the motorbike with the raptors, which has caused a bit of speculation. How do you feel about that, and what do you think it might be hinting towards?
Well, to me, as soon as I saw that, it was him riding along on his motorbike, riding alongside trained velociraptors. So they've managed somehow to train these wild creatures into, I don't know, helping them, I don't know, herd other dinosaurs. They seem to be working together at whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
In terms of whether I like that idea, I'm on the fence. I don't think it's a terrible idea. I think it is kind of cool, and I like the idea of having Velociraptor pets. I'm doing air quotes, but I mean, like, it's not unheard of. People train tigers and things in zoos. You know, it's not completely ridiculous. But on the other hand, I think it still does take away from their menace a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I loved them so much as a kid in Jurassic Park because they were so fucking scary. They were terrifying. And knowing that they can be tamed and then they're going to run alongside the motorbike and, you know, help you out in your little battles against genetically modified super fucking T-Rex, you know, it makes them less scary, you know. So, I don't know. It's completely dependent on how it's handled in the film, I think. I don't think it's a terrible idea. It could be okay. Yeah. But I'm hesitant. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think I agree. At first, actually, I really liked it. I thought that was a cool spin on keeping them interesting as dinosaurs.
Well, I mean, that's a good point because there's only so many sort of like hunting scenes you can have with raptors. You know, that's basically all they do.
Yeah, and I suppose that's a reason why they've done this because, it's a new perspective. But you're right, like they do lose a bit of their cool factor, you know, because if you throw a rabbit at them and then tell them to jump, eventually they'll jump, and you know that whole idea of training them is,
because the first film was what made them so scary was because they were so intelligent and like they were smarter than that. Like you couldn't just train them; they would figure out how to open doors.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I'm sure that they've kept. Like, they're not just going to blindly do whatever Chris Pratt tells them to do. Like, I'm sure there'll be a bit of wildness to them. And maybe there's a point where they stop obeying him and become a bit more wild or something. Like, who knows? Maybe that's part of the downfall of the park, is that you think you can train these things, but you can't.
True.
I mean, on a purely visual level, it's a pretty cool shot, I think.
Yep.
Them running alongside him and... just like hearing those sound effects again is like nostalgic and cool.
The raptor squawk noise that they make.
Yeah.
There's rumours around that there's also flying dinosaurs with that ridden by trainers or people within the zoo. So just honestly, do you think that could be thematically part of the film? Yeah,
I think it might be that they have trained a lot of them, like the raptors and the pterodactyls, but by the end of the movie, they'll realise that you can't.
Life finds a way.
Life finds a way. Life breaks through. It crashes through barriers. So I think, I think that might be another sort of mini theme of the movie, is that as well as trying to create new forms of species and play God, you also can't tame the wild, which again is sort of carrying on from the first and second movie. In terms of like trying to contain these creatures. Yeah, so I think overall we're pretty open to it, and my expectations might be slightly higher than yours.
Yeah, I think so. I think like what I was saying in the beginning, I don't hate the idea of a sequel because they're so standalone.
Yeah, that was a great point.
I'm sort of fine with them revisiting this world, even though it doesn't sort of feel necessary. It doesn't. It's not damaging for them to do it, so why not have a stab?
And at this point, they are like an exercise in like an adventure movie, really. There's not much more to them, even though this one maybe has some potential thematic stuff that's interesting. That's never going to be the focus anymore, like the first film. So in that sense, your expectations are kind of lowered anyway, just to see whether it's engaging and entertaining and not just stupid.
Our first
like the third
genetically modified hybrid.
We just went and made a new dinosaur? Probably not a good idea.
Almost 40 feet high. Really think she climbed out?
Depends.
On what?
What kind of dinosaur they cooked up in that lab. Evacuate the island. She's a highly intelligent animal. She will kill anything that moves.
Oh, God.
Okay, well, I'm so curious now, Matt, because we've both seen Jurassic World. We've seen a fourth Jurassic Park movie.
We have, yes.
The day has come and gone. I don't know what that is, but anyway, I'm gonna throw to you first, Matt, and I have absolutely no idea what you're gonna say here. Like, this movie is very very puzzling. So, what are your general thoughts after seeing Jurassic World? Tell us.
My general thoughts. I'm actually still kind of trying to get my head around this film.
Okay.
I guess in terms of like the Jurassic Park series in general, like the first film is so important to me, and I think you and a lot of people sort of our age, that it set a benchmark so high that nothing can sort of ever touch that. Yeah. So that's kind of like completely off the table. You know, it can never be that good.
Yeah.
So I think in the trailer discussions, I kind of guessed that it would be better than 3, but sort of maybe on par with 2. I think I said, which I think is what I came out of the film feeling like. I certainly didn't dislike the film. I was, if anything, I was pleasantly surprised with it. But it did take a while to win me over, and I think there's a lot of problems with the film, particularly with the script and the characters. And I was actually kind of disliking the film for maybe the first third, and I was having a really hard time engaging with it and letting myself get swept up in it. There was a few little moments that worked, but in general I was kind of resisting. But somehow by the end, it had kind of beat me into submission a little bit, I think, because the problems are still there, but the action kind of won me over, and I was having quite a good time by the time the credits rolled. And yeah, I felt pleasantly surprised by it, I guess, is the best way to put it. I don't think it's great. I'm still not sure whether I rate it higher than 2 or lower than 2. It's definitely better than 3.
Yeah.
I would say it's like a solid action blockbuster with some pretty big flaws that we can kind of talk about. But what about you, John? How do you feel about Jurassic World?
Okay, well, I agree with you about the first film, obviously, and I'm pretty sure we talked about that in the trailer thoughts, that how big and important the first film is for us and for a lot of people. So I agree that it's like not even in consideration, and I actually had in my notes here, like, the first film is a film and the others are movies. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference there, you know, sort of in how you watch them, you know, how you analyze them and critique them. So I wish I disagreed with you for the sake of the podcast, but
we're in sync again, are we, John?
Yeah, we are in sync again. I by the end of this movie, when the T-Rex roars and you cut to black on you know, Michael Giacchino interpreting the great John Williams score, I was just like, hell yes, that was fun, that was great. I was on a bit of a high after this movie, I have to admit, and I totally agree that there are lots of problems and flaws, and it took a little while to get used to the world and the characters and how kind of weird and silly it is. But if you're able to just go with the flow, and I don't want to say switch your brain off, because I hate when people say that. But it is definitely going for almost like a theme park ride in itself kind of movie. You know what I mean? It's just like crazy, over the top set pieces, characters that just do enough to get by, and by the end I was like totally happy to go with that, and was just loving how crazy it was. I really, really liked it. I was so surprised, because I went in with kind of low expectations. And I think that really helped, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, actually, because my expectations were pretty low as well, particularly after they released the clip from the film, which was the Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt scene, and there was kind of this big backlash with Joss Whedon sort of chiming in about how retrograde and kind of sexist cliches that the film seemed to be leading on.
Yeah.
So I was kind of very worried after I saw that, and I mean, I guess in a weird way, that's still one of the biggest problems I had with the film. I totally think it still relies on that sort of crutch of those old character types that just feels so outdated now. And I don't know. I guess I liked that Bryce Dallas Howard's character sort of becomes. She's the one that has the arc. Probably the only fucking character in this film that has any kind of arc.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the two kids do it a little bit, but
the raptors kind of do.
Yeah, so you joke, but it's like they kind of do. They develop the dinosaurs better than they develop the humans.
Yeah.
So I like that she does go through this kind of arc, but in order for her to get that arc, the film relies on such shit, like occasionally I would even argue kind of borderline offensive caricature cliches to get to this place of her being this empowered figure within the film. I don't know, that was disappointing to me that they had to resort to that kind of stuff. It feels like lazy script writing. But I think I guess that's the problem that I have with the film in general, is the script. And just the absolute lack of character. And you were talking about before about Jurassic Park being a film and the other ones being a movie. Like that's the key difference, right? Like Jurassic Park is about the people. Yes, it's about a dinosaur theme park.
Exactly.
But it's not about a dinosaur theme park. It's about these characters with interesting ideas, smart people talking to each other, discussing concepts, and then being thrown into this crazy thrill ride of what is almost more of a horror film, I suppose, now, looking at it, compared to the other Jurassic Park films.
Yeah.
And that's why you care about the characters and why it's so much fun and so exciting. Whereas this, it kind of like skirts by on the bare minimum in terms of character.
Yeah.
But Chris Pratt's character basically there's nothing to... He's nothing. He's like a macho animal trainer. That's it. He's at the start, he's at the end.
Yeah. He's the same at the end as he is at the start.
Yeah, literally. There's no character arc, no character development whatsoever.
Yeah, that's true.
And but the same with the two kids as well, which I actually quite liked. In terms of the actors, I liked both their performances. They didn't annoy me like the little kid in Tomorrowland did. That they had a good presence on screen. But
the younger one in particular was very, very good, I thought.
Yeah, I totally agree. But it was just so poorly handled, I thought. And I think that's why I struggled with the first half of the film so much, because they're kind of front and center in a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it's just them walking about and you don't really care. Then they throw that random scene in with them on the train and he just cries and says, "Our parents are getting a divorce," and you're like, what the fuck? Okay. And then it's just dropped and never said anything about it again. Like it's so
it is a bit
weird.
Strange. I don't know, I agree that's out of place and weird, and so is the phone call that their mum makes to Bryce Dallas Howard.
And then he like scolds her for not wanting children or whatever.
Yeah, that's...
Oh my god.
Well, yeah, that was very... And it's just like, well, one day you will. Like, yes, you will.
Yeah, exactly.
That was very strange. And the fact that she's so emotional and just like starts crying on the phone, like...
Yeah.
It just... That whole scene felt weird. But I don't know. I kind of appreciated that there was some kind of... Complexity is the wrong word, but another layer of reason for them sending the kids away, and it wasn't just like have fun at the park.
Go have a holiday.
Yeah, it was handled poorly, but I like that they at least tried in that sense.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose I'll give you that.
But I can totally see all the complaints, and I agree with all the complaints about that storyline as well. Like if you're gonna have it in there, do it properly. I guess.
I guess it's also. I mean, it's a bit of an unfair comparison comparing it to the first film, just because, like what we said, it's such an untouchable film in a lot of ways. But I also, like, part of me doesn't, like, I don't want to give a film a pass for a lot of this stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not hating on the film. Like I said, I liked the film when I came out of it. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
But just in terms of going through the problems first, and then maybe I'll get onto the more positive stuff. But I do feel like, kind of like we said before about when people say just turn your brain off. I hate it when people say that, and I feel the same way about character stuff. Like, you know, just because it can barely skirt by doesn't mean it should get a complete pass for it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it handled a lot of stuff really poorly, and I think people should be able to point that out and go, you know, that wasn't dealt with in a very, you know, intelligent way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there are quite a few problems, but it's interesting that, I don't know, you know, there's the sort of problems I think that would normally annoy us, and I'm wondering why we're still willing to go with it. By the end of the film, for me, I was really like, I want to see this again, you know, and just kind of soak it all in. Is it because we're attached to the franchise, do you think?
I think that's a part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, going back to the kids, I suppose, like, at the beginning of the film, another thing I didn't like is, like, it rushed so quickly to the park. Like, everyone was just straight to the park.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
I guess it's the same complaint again. It was just like such little character setup, and then we were there. But then when they sort of arrive at the park, they play the Jurassic Park score, and I can't even remember how it starts. But like the majority of it is the kid just running through like some like area of the park, and then the score continues to play as they're like in the hotel room and unpacking their stuff, and that like actually really annoyed me. I was like, you have so totally missed the point of this score. Like, it's not, you know, they're in a hotel room, like, and then he like opens the door, and it does this big sweeping shot out. And I like got a little emotional at that scene.
Me too.
But that I think that is purely because of the score. Like, if I think that was any other score over that seat, like with that poorly handled opening and then over a CGI park, I would have gone whatever, you know. But because there's that huge emotional attachment to the first film, I think it gets away with a lot of that sort of stuff. And
yeah, I think so too.
It allows you to get a bit more swept up in it than you perhaps normally would. But I don't think that's the only reason that we can perhaps enjoy something like this more. Like, I think there's genuinely, like, the action is fun. There is some cool ideas under the surface, even if they're not handled very well.
I agree.
Like, there's interesting stuff in there, and stuff that I didn't sort of expect to be good did work well. So like it wasn't a complete mess, and we're just giving it a pass because it's got the Jurassic Park name on it. No, I agree, but I was just interested to sort of think out loud whether that plays in, and I guess it does, because you're right, like that moment, and just jumping way towards the end when the T-Rex finally makes an appearance. You know, I don't know if you like that, but I was just like moaning in my seat, you know. That I was just like fanboy. Like I've got no critical perception at that point. You know what I mean? It's just like it's all out the window.
I'm instantly the 7-year-old at the cinema again when the first one came out, because of the sound design is so iconic for the roar, and you know it's such an iconic look as well. Like the T-Rex, we all know what that looks like, and I mean, it's ridiculous, and I know there's been a lot of criticism because it's basically the hero of the movie at the end, right? It's like a good guy, you know, to take down the big bad
teams
dinosaur.
Up with the raptor.
Yeah, teams up with the raptor. But
so fucking dumb.
I know, but I just loved it. I loved it.
No, I agree. Like, I would actually agree with you. I think I probably was a little less taken. Like, because I didn't see it coming, right? Like when they're having that final battle. And there's that actually stupid line with the kid where he's like, "We need more teeth."
Yeah,
like,
I thought.
What?
Yeah, I didn't know what that meant.
Either did I. I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And then she like runs off, and like I didn't know where she was going. I hadn't put two and two together.
Me neither.
But when she lights the flare, as soon as I saw the flare, I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Like, it all fell into place. Like that was a really cool reference to the first film.
Yeah, I agree.
But it was undercut for me by this stupid high heels shot that came after it. Yeah. And I know like a lot of has been made about it in the press and things, but I think it genuinely is dumb, and I don't think like it's not even on a feminist reading level. Like I don't have any problem with like a strong female character that can still be like badass and wear a pair of heels, because apparently it was like Bryce Dallas Howard's suggestion that they do it because she wanted to show her femininity, which is I can totally get behind that. But within the context of the story, it's moronic. Like, why would you wear heels? Like, any chance of the slightest slip and you're dead by a dinosaur, like, just kick them off. You know, you could run a lot better.
Yeah, they like that shot when the T-Rex comes out and then she's running away is like a full shot. You see. And I agree, it does slightly ruin the moment because you can't help but notice it because
exactly.
It's just not something that you see because
it's just silly.
No one would do that, you know.
And I mean, it didn't completely ruin the moment for me, and the moment was still cool. I just felt like it was a little bit. I guess it's kind of like what I was talking about before as well. That the first film is very much a horror film in a lot of ways, whereas this is much more of an action film, and it does kind of take the danger away from the T-Rex a little bit. I guess it's like what you said about making it the hero of the film. Like, the fact that you're willing to just open the cage and then just like, hey, follow me with a flare, come help us. You know, you know what I mean? Like, I agree, in the first film, if anyone opened that cage, you would shit your pants and you would just, like, you would never even want to stand in front of it kind of thing.
I agree. And I think that's something the first film, I mean... Yeah, again, we'll try not to compare too much.
Yeah, I know, we're doing it too much already.
But, and even the second one, and I guess it's a Spielberg thing, is that whenever the characters are, well, in the first film, whenever they're in a cage or a paddock, even if there's nothing around, it feels like any second some shit could go down. You know what I mean? Like, you're on edge, even in like a quiet scene, like when they're up... Grant's up in the tree with the kids and they're like falling asleep. You know, the T-Rex could just come and eat them, really. Like, and in the Lost World, I guess there's no real fences, but just when they're on the island, it's like you're kind of always on edge because anything could come and get you anytime. And the third film and this one don't really have that because, particularly as you said in this one, it's like. Unless the thing's right there, you just don't get that sense of space or danger. And by the end, the T-Rex is definitely a positive and a hero. And it's like there's no question that it's going to, like, imagine if she did that and it like ate her.
Just ate her. She just opened the gates and it just chomps her in half. Just leaves the pair of heels just sitting there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, I don't want to, like, take anything away from that moment, because I agree, that did give me, like, nerd goosebumps.
And as I said, like, totally, you know, you almost have to apologise, because it's like, I can see the flaws and the problems in that moment, but I couldn't, it was really, you know, well, this is probably a terrible word to use, but nostalgic for me to see that dinosaur again. And, you know, they were just totally playing it for the fans. Like, here's the T-Rex, it's going to save the day. You know, I guess it does that in the first film, but it's on a much, much smaller scale. Yeah,
and it's not... Yeah, I guess so. But, like, I think it's like what you said, you never feel like it is the hero of the film. It's like they just got lucky that it happened to come up at that moment and... fight with the raptors or whatever. How did you feel about the whole use of nostalgia in the film in general? Like, it does... We are bringing it up a lot, but it does lean heavily on the original Jurassic Park. How did you find that? Were you a fan, or did it rub you the wrong way?
It didn't bother me. I think I really like. Well, the score does that a lot, and I think I really like the score. But maybe one too many times there was a callback theme. There were a couple of new themes I noticed in there as well, which was really nice. That kind of took a few bars from like the Jurassic Park theme and then kind of wove something else around them, which was really good, I think. But yeah, I think in general that maybe one too many times there was like a bit of music from the first film that I don't know. It didn't really bother me, but I just noticed it.
It was a little bit heavy-handed.
When they go back to the visitor center or whatever. Yeah, it was the visitor center.
Yeah, it's visitor center because the flag's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which they burn.
Yeah, which they burn. Yeah, I didn't know what to make of that. Whether that was some weird, commentary.
But
I didn't mind it. Did it annoy you or bother you?
No, I would say on the most part, I enjoyed most of it. Like, I actually really liked that visitor center moment. Like, when I realised that's what it was, and they were in there, and the flag was on the ground, and it was it was cool. Like, going back to that, like locations you know so well from the first film. Yeah. I don't know. Some of the more jokey stuff was a little on the nose. Like what's his name in the control center wearing the Jurassic Park t-shirt.
I really liked all that. I was a big fan of that. Yeah.
Like, I didn't dislike it, but it just felt like a little, I don't know, maybe it was a little too like wink-winky for my taste, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well, it definitely was. But that's something I appreciated because this movie is like that, you know what I mean? And it's kind of silly and over the top, and I liked that they sort of acknowledged in a way, and that's quite an early scene too.
Yeah.
That, we're not the old movie and we have this kind of sensibility, and almost apologizing in advance. Because he's like, well, back then all you needed was a dinosaur, and now you need some made up thing. And it's just it's like talking about the movie itself.
Yeah, well, I guess that's my point. Like, it was just a little, I felt like maybe it was more the dialogue as well, like you're saying, him saying that, and he says some line about like how the original park was like legit or whatever he said, and like all this. Yeah. I don't know, like it felt like a little. I don't know. Maybe it was just a little too comedic for what I was wanting to come out of the Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't terrible. It didn't like crush the film. It was just probably the tip to the scale a little bit for me.
Yeah. It seemed to be like they were trying to jump in before like the internet bloggers and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? They're like, we know this isn't the original and it's a bit silly. So we're going to have this character here that kind of like, if you acknowledge it, then it's harder to criticize it for it, almost, you know?
Yeah. I don't know, I guess it's also, that seems to be like a little bit of a cool thing to do these days, do you know what I mean? Like, it's ever since the Lord and Miller kind of brand of comedy, like, that's like, everything has to be a little bit self-referential, which I actually think this film handled pretty poorly in a lot of ways. Some of it was okay, not just the Jurassic Park stuff. I just mean it's more self-referential stuff. Anyway, I'll talk about that in a minute. But in terms of the other Jurassic Park references, I liked most of them. I did almost get a little bit too much for me at some points, though. Like, it was almost like every shot in a lot of, or every set piece was in some way a reference to like the gyroscope thing was almost exactly the car scene. She ties her shirt up like Ellie from the first film. Like, the finale is basically the finale of the first film, like the three raptors, the way Chris Pratt puts his hands out to like and then the it was like basically restaging it, except with the new dinosaur instead of the T-Rex.
I did find that one in particular quite odd, because by then the movie had earned its own set piece or something. It didn't need to have any reference by that point, and it still did. Yeah,
I think like I I didn't hate on it, but I guess that's exactly what I felt. I kind of felt unnecessary. Yeah. It's like, at that point, you're right. We kind of like, we get it, man. We know you love the first film. Like, just come up. You don't have to keep showing us that, you know, you can remake all these cool little references. Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's kind of fun. Like, I can pick up on these things because I've seen the first film so many times.
Yeah.
But, yeah, maybe it's just, like I said, a little bit too winky. I could have done with a little bit less, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. And I think you're probably right. And I had forgotten about that final scene in particular and how kind of on the nose it was.
But what did you think about the other self-referential stuff, like the fact that we actually kind of nailed it in our trailer discussion that the new dinosaur is like a meta commentary on the film itself, and there's one of the things I disliked was the opening of the film sort of like really overtly sticks the knife into like product placement in the park, while like the jokes about calling it like a Pepsi Triceratops or whatever, and Verizon is sponsoring the Indominus Rex or whatever it's called, the new dinosaur. And then like the second half of the film is like zooming in on Mercedes logos on like cars. It's like always holding a Starbucks coffee. You know, that weird moment when Chris Pratt's introduced and he like sips a retro like Coke Coke bottle like in close up. And it was just, I don't know, it just, that kind of thing annoyed me a little bit. It's like, don't bag it unless you're going to do something clever with it later on. Like, you can't just go, oh, we're so much better because we make fun of it, and then do it.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, I'm not sure what the alternative is for a movie like this, which is, they obviously had no choice. Like, that's not even something the director can choose. So at least acknowledge it. You know what I mean? If you don't even acknowledge it, don't you think that's worse, to just pretend it's not there? Or would you rather that? Because I don't think that's a tasteful way to do it, and you know, that's obviously like an executive producer like cramming down this kind of sponsorship.
Like, I guess so. I just felt, for some reason, I noticed it so much more in this film. Like, it felt really like front and center, more so than I have in other films.
Do you think that's because they pointed it out?
But maybe, and whether it's just because it put me in that frame of mind in the beginning, or whether they deliberately pointed it out as an excuse to let them push it harder in the second half of the film. I don't know which of those two it is.
Yeah, but, maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, okay, maybe it's an executive thing I need to be annoyed about, but I don't feel like not all blockbusters have product placement. There wasn't much product placement in Mad Max Fury Road, John. Like, it felt really,
I think you're right,
front and center in this film, and I don't know. Yeah. It just
I don't
rubbed me
like
the wrong way.
I don't like it. I hate product placement, and you're right. Not all movies do, and it was pretty obvious in this.
Yeah, okay, I guess also, like, if they were just making fun of it and actually, like, called it the Samsung Visitors Center and the Verizon fucking T-Rex or whatever, that's almost
enough.
Fine, because I can understand that in terms of the real world, like, theme parks have that, and you are doing it, but then to also do the, like, zooming in on the car logos and all that sort of stuff that's not actually... doesn't make sense within the world of the film is when it stood out.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And thinking about it now, maybe they saw it more than usual because it was a theme park and you can blatantly have products in there. And then they went a step too far in terms of having the actual characters using the stuff rather than just in the background. Because it was always in the background, but that makes more sense.
Yeah, exactly. I would be totally fine with that because that feels legitimate in the world of the film. It almost makes it feel more real because that's exactly what happens in real life. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how did you feel about the whole new genetically engineered dinosaur and the meta commentary on the film itself? Did you think that worked?
It's probably a similar thing, you know, like, it sounds like overall I'm slightly more forgiving than you of some of these sins.
I'm coming off as disliking it more than I did. I'm just getting this off my chest.
But yeah, I think you're able to be. You're just smarter. You're smarter than me, I think.
I don't think it's that. I'm just more cynical.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I'm still deciding how I feel about that in terms of the commentary, because I like it. I think it's smart, but you also have to, like, it also is the main dinosaur in the movie, and so you can condemn it sort of and say we don't need this, but then it's there the whole time, you know. And in terms of just disregarding all that meta stuff, I think it was like okay as a dinosaur, you know, like. It was interesting. It wasn't that different from the Spinosaurus or anything.
No, it wasn't actually.
It had graspy hands, and it didn't have like a long snout or a fin or whatever. But it was kind of the same feel to me, like just this big. I don't know, the camouflage thing. I mean, I'm saying like 50 different things at once here, but that was interesting. But then. Kind of only used once.
Yeah,
I thought it was a bit of a waste if they were going to do that. Yeah, so in general, I didn't hate the dinosaur. Like, I thought it was interesting enough. I like the idea that it was bred in captivity, and when it gets out, it's just like batshit crazy. You know, it's like shit, yeah. You know, it's crazy. Firstly, because it's like genetically fucked. Yeah. And secondly, because it's got no social skills, and it's just got these four walls around it the whole time. And I sort of like that idea of like a psychotic dinosaur. What did you think in general about all that kind of stuff? About all
that, in terms of the dinosaur, actually, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, cool.
It was a lot better than what I had anticipated. In terms of the commentary stuff, I think I'm kind of the same as you. I'm still trying to figure out where I fall, because I like that it does that, like it's making this point, like that's what makes it more interesting than something like Jurassic Park 3, because it is saying something about like the state of blockbuster. I mean, it doesn't have to be even a meta thing, like it's just about humans in general, and how like we get bored of shit so quickly, and how dumb we are, like we always need more stimulation all the time, and,
in general, I did like that theme, you know, where like they hammered it home maybe too much with the older of the kids, the teenage boy, but you know, he's more interested in like checking out girls and going on his phone while there's like some amazing dinosaur behind him, you know. And, it was very obvious, but I appreciated that being in there.
I totally agree. Like I feel like that's a good extension of sort of the themes touched on in the original film. Like this is a logical progression of that. I really liked all that stuff. But yeah, like I guess it did also feel like they were cramming too much shit into this dinosaur in a lot of ways. Like I totally agree with the camouflage stuff. Like, okay, suddenly in camouflage, alright, he uses that once. And then never again, never mention again. And like, or he can see thermal patterns and camouflage his thermal signature because we need him to escape from the pen. Like it was, that felt really inconsistent, and it's almost like guilty of what it's condemning. Like it's throwing all this stuff in just to have like one little scene, like action scene, or you know, some reason for them to be able to push the plot forward, and then it's just forgotten because they don't care about it anymore. They're on to the next cool thing, which I dislike that a lot.
I agree with that.
Like I actually really liked when Chris Pratt and his little raptor pals are tracking the I-Rex, and then they like meet for the first time, and it sort of talks to the raptors, which I thought was like, they communicate, that's fine. It's not like it was literally talking to them. And you realise that they spliced T-Rex DNA with raptor DNA, and I was like, fuck yeah, that's all you needed, because you've taken the two scariest fucking things from the first film and put them together into like the ultimate scary thing. Like,
I totally agree.
You didn't need all this like cuttlefish camouflage and like snake thermal vision. It's like, that doesn't mean anything to anyone.
And as you said, that stuff never came back either.
No.
It was enough Yeah, I totally agree. Because there was that cool kind of not mystery, but throughout the movie they're like, what is this thing? Like, what's in this thing?
Yeah.
And that moment where the penny drops, I guess, when the raptors go after it. That's such a cool little twisty kind of moment.
Yeah, it was great.
And they all just like turn around and like look back at the humans, and it's like, oh shit. It's probably a good time to talk about the raptors in general, because all the pre-marketing and stuff is like trained raptors and Chris Pratt on a motorbike with raptors, and that seemed like it was just bound for disaster.
It sounds so dumb, right?
It sounded really ridiculous. They're like the coolest, smartest, most cunning of all the dinosaurs, and like they're going to be performing tricks and just do whatever it says. But I actually think they handled that well. There's one part I hated, but overall I think they handled that really well. Seeing him train them made sense, where he was like throwing down treats, and they're responding to food, and that all makes sense to me, like you'd see at a SeaWorld or something, some other park like that. And they respected him up until a point, but they'd still bite his head off if they could. I really liked all that. I think what I didn't like was the storyline of old mate military guy who wanted to...
I'd forgotten about that.
I know, I always forget about that part as well. And
moronic. Like, I think it's so dumb.
You could cut that entire storyline out, and the movie would basically be the same, because
it would be
Chris
better.
Pratt... Yeah, it would be better. Yeah, that's what I should have said. I mean the same as in you don't lose anything,
Yes,
like, Chris, and it gives Chris Pratt more of an arc for his storyline as well, in that he's training the raptors and almost bonding with them. Then it's his idea to use them to hunt down the I-Rex as an absolute last measure. And then they turn on him. It's more powerful then, I think. Rather, I mean, we're rewriting the movie as always, but
that's a great idea.
It's just so silly that guy was there just hanging around all the time. Just like, hey, when are we going to use him, huh? Come on.
And it's like so instantly apparent that he's going to die as soon as he walks onto screen. Like, it's like, you are so dead.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Telegraphed.
It's just like, it doesn't make any sense.
It's the most retarded idea. It's like, if that's the way the military thinks, why are there not like trained lions and tigers out in Afghanistan now? Like, it's just moronic. It is so
it makes
dumb.
No sense.
So dumb.
Yeah.
I actually really disliked that angle of the film, because like you said, with the raptors in general, that was actually probably my favourite thing in this film. Like, they took this premise of training raptors, which I thought was the dumbest thing that they could do, and turned it into like the coolest part of the film, and made raptors cool, kept the coolness of the raptors, but in a different way, and
I totally agree.
That was still so fucking scary. That scene where the guy gets pulled into the raptor pit.
That was great.
And then Chris Pratt has to run in and try and calm the raptors down so they don't eat this dude. It was so tense. Like, you felt any moment he's holding his hands up to them. Like, they could just bite his hand off. You know what I mean? Like, there was so much danger every interaction he had with them. It was never like they were his little pets that he would ride into the forest.
Exactly.
There was always a real sense of threat and danger to him. I thought that was handled perfectly for that silly concept that they came up with. They managed to turn it into something really cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, what a pleasant surprise that was, because we were both feeling pretty negative. I just wish they had cut that other character out.
It does undercut that stuff a little bit, but just because there's this it just turns it into something that's a little bit stupid when it could have been something like noble. Like, he's this guy that loves animals and wants to, I don't know why you'd be training them, I suppose, but it's like, I guess it's like in a zoo where they train like tigers, and it's about bonding with an animal. It's not about like using them for any end game.
No, that's right.
Actually, the only bad side, and it's not even that bad, like the weakest part of the whole Chris Pratt and the Raptors thing for me, other than the silly military plot,
I think I know what you're going to say.
It was right at the end of the film, like after the T-Rex Raptor battle, which was like cool but silly, like you said, like they team up.
Yeah.
And there's like this weird moment where they're like, the Raptors sort of loose, and Chris Pratt's there, and they just look at each other and go like, "Yep," give each other a little nod, and then it runs off. Like, it was just this weird, like, I don't know. It seemed to like suddenly become like the relationship went up to this other level where they were now like friends and could like talk by nodding.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like a raptor can understand that means yes, good on you. Off you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for your help. It was just a bit silly.
Yeah, like it was enough that it kind of turned again against the I-Rex. Like, that's enough because it saw Chris Pratt and it's like, oh, I've known you since birth. Yes, okay, I'll stand up for you. Like, that's enough of that sort of thing. Like, I agree that last shot was. I mean, it didn't ruin anything, but it was
no. Yeah, it was just a bit silly.
Yeah.
I also thought there was a real missed opportunity when, like, when that battle's kind of happening, the raptor's like mauling that one dude, and then Chris Pratt sees it and it like stands up and like looks at him, and then just gets fucking rocket launched and just gets blown up.
That was kind of weird. Yeah.
And he just kind of like gets blown back, and he's like fine. Like that was prime material for like this really nice emotional beat to have him. Like, connect, even just for him to say the name of whatever the raptor was, like Blue or Delta or whatever, like, know that he's calmed it again, and then have it die, and then watch, like, how much that rips Chris Pratt's character apart. Because he's spent, like, 15 years bringing them up from birth or whatever, like, that could have been really cool.
Yep, and I was expecting that, to be honest.
Yeah.
And but he kind of gets up and doesn't give a shit. You know?
Yeah, whatever, 3 more left.
Yeah, I was actually disappointed then, because when it did get blown up, I was almost ready, you know? I was like, I wanted to be sad. It just never happened.
Yeah, it was really weird that they didn't do that more, because I think they could have focused more on the bond between Chris Pratt and the... Like, it was done well. I'm not saying it was handled poorly, but that's such prime material for, like, cool scenes to happen.
Yeah. I thought it was weird that... when the kids were in the gyrosphere,
no, I know exactly what you're going to say.
That they actively left the habitat, and they were allowed to, and they had control.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Like, I think you could go back a step there. Like, one, who gives children, 2 unsupervised children? I mean, just in general, as the terms of building a ride, 100% control around live animals. Like, even a fucking zoo doesn't let you drive around like giraffes. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be contained. Like, it was just silly and unbelievable. I agree, and I think that's bigger than a nitpick, because that took me out of that scene. I was just like, this could not exist in the real world. No,
it was so weird. Like, when the design looked weird enough, you know, when we're watching the trailer and stuff, it's like, that looks really weird. Like, how do they control that? And I always assumed it was some, like, radio-operated thing, or... Yeah, it
could have been, like one of the cool new, like, self-driving Google cars, right? That can only get a certain proximity from things, and it just goes on a sort of... predetermined path through the park. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Like a more advanced version, basically, of the cars from the first movie.
Yeah, that just don't need tracks. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but instead it's like some weird thing that you control, and then like that kid like actively goes out. Oh, there's a big hole in the fence here. And we're in a park where there's all these dangerous animals. Let's just drive.
And you've just had a huge warning thing flash up. Like, and that's it. Yeah, like the fact that it lets them continue controlling and driving around after it.
Yeah.
The warning.
There's no like
off.
Homing beacons or anything that just like drags them back. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, that took me out as well. But then, like the actual sequence once it happens is kind of cool. I thought, you know, where they get trapped in there. I mean, it's a callback to the cars again, but yeah, I thought it was kind of fun.
It was okay. Like, I felt it was a little CGI heavy for my taste. Like, I never really felt
when
they
it was
were in danger.
Bouncing around.
Yeah, I didn't feel like they were actually getting hit on the ground. You could tell it was all like just green screen, and like they weren't actually. You know what I mean? Like, you expect like them to be smashing around, but they're kind of just yelling.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just felt like a little fake, and it was like the kid when he's like, "Oh, now we've seen like 4 dinosaurs." And he's like 5. He's like, "Oh, you can't count. There's 4." And then like, oh, the reflection. It's like as if that you would not get freaked out when you can see a reflection of like a fucking enormous dinosaur.
Yeah, exactly.
It was really silly. But no, I didn't hate that scene at all. Like, it just again, it's me comparing to the original film. But I think it invited that. It was deliberately referencing the car, and that is so much more effective and so much more terrifying.
Yeah, I agree. Dr. Wu, what did you think of his character in this, and the kind of sinister undertones that appear towards the end of the movie from him? What did you make of all that?
I guess I kind of liked it. I like that he's back. There's a through line from the first film. And I think that's kind of an interesting path for his character to take, that he's just become so obsessed with creating dinosaurs since the failure of the first film that he has to put his stamp on the world of genetics and create something entirely his own. So he'll be remembered forever. It sort of turns him into a cartoony, villainy kind of character, I guess. You don't really care about him anymore, but for a peripheral character, I guess he was actually one of the more interesting. I guess he's got an arc only because of his character in the first film, but do you know what I mean? In comparison, but yeah, I liked it. What about you? Did you like his character in this?
I did actually. Yeah. I thought it was cool that he was back. It made sense just from a story point that they would get the I don't know, he seems like the lead engineer,
Yeah.
And again, same, I agree. It makes sense that he really wanted to make his mark, and that one small touch I really liked was when he said, we've been doing this from the beginning, none of these are real dinosaurs. Yep. And that was such a good way of firstly going against the real world scientific stuff that has come out since.
Raptors with feathers,
the feathers, which might be true, but no one actually wants to see that, because we all have an image of how dinosaurs look, and audiences just want that,
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. It also stands in for some of the behaviour of the dinosaurs or whatever. If they're more aggressive than they would be, or
that's true,
or whatever. I thought that was actually a really
that's a really good point.
Nice touch that they put that in. And in his head, it's well, I'm just taking the next step in that sense, by adding in a couple of extra other genes. So I like that. It made sense to me that he wouldn't want to abandon his research again, so he kind of InGen takes it all away towards the end of the film, and he goes with them.
Presumably to set up the next film.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind that too much. It was about as much as, well, it was more than the Nedry can in the first film. Yeah. But it wasn't too. It didn't feel too marvelly, It was
It was
there's room there, but we've just got one movie here. It's not there was a post-credit sequence of Dr. Wu pulling out an embryo or something oh, I have plans for you or something.
Yeah, I agree. And it suits his villainous character that he would just want to escape, and it's all about self-preservation and protecting his science.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
It works as a character beat as well as a setup for another film.
The thing I didn't like was that he was kind of in cahoots with the military.
Yeah, which is probably where the next film's going to be.
Yeah, I really hope not. That just sounds so boring to me.
I agree.
That's the storyline. But
there were perhaps one or two many ideas sort of thrown in that were never wrapped up. I really like the meta stuff and the new dinosaurs being genetically engineered, but then there was all the powers and stuff that it has, which is a bit silly. But then when it's finally gets out and it just starts slaughtering all the animals, and there's that one line where it's it's killing for sport or whatever, and you think is this going to go into some commentary on humanity and what causes things to kill other creatures, not for food but for just for the fun of it. But it's kind of just, that's one line, and it's never brought up again. I guess that's the main example. That felt like it could have been a rich subject to tap into, and it's just.
Yeah, I agree, and I actually thought that, and this would have probably been stupid, so it's probably better they didn't have it. But how they kept. We were talking earlier about how they kept. We were talking earlier about how they keep saying, "Oh, what is in this? What have you put in this?" I thought the final thing was going to be man.
Yeah,
and
so did I.
I thought Wu was going to have put a bit of his own DNA in it or something.
Yeah.
And that's why it was like, had to kill, and it was, and that's where all that thematic stuff would come in. And I guess that would be, and also why it seemed to be, more intelligent than it had a right to be. But obviously, that doesn't happen. And probably for the better, but it almost seemed to be going down that path for a little bit there, and I wonder, if that would have been interesting or not. Or
I totally agree. It's funny you should say that, because I had the exact same prediction while I was watching it. It seemed like that could be where it was headed. And actually, I was pleasantly surprised, because in the trailer it seemed to suggest that it was communicating with the other dinosaurs. There is still that weird scene where it kind of just roars at the pterodactyl things and they just fly up, and suddenly go on a rampage for no real reason. But I don't think it's meant to be communicating other than with the raptors, and they pulled that line of dialogue with the scene from the raptors, which makes sense. Because I was concerned that it was going to start talking to all the other dinosaurs and spurring them on to rise up against the corporate theme park, which I thought that might have been a part of the human DNA thing in terms of communicating and stuff. But I think I'm glad that it didn't go down that road.
Yeah, me too.
But I don't want to come off like I don't like this film. I think it has a lot of problems, a lot of script problems. And particularly in the opening first half, I would say. And it's disappointing that the characters aren't more fleshed out, but I think it really successfully follows on thematically from the first film. It has interesting ideas in there that are explored reasonably well for the most part, even if they do get muddled towards the end, and it kind of doesn't know where to land on certain things. And the action is cool enough, and the references were cool enough for a big fan of Jurassic Park like myself to enjoy all that stuff. I came out, like you said, on a high rather than a low. I enjoyed it, and I would watch it again.
Yeah, I agree. It was a real pleasant surprise, and I have a feeling if they make another, which I'm sure they will, because it's made a good.
It's already been announced.
Yeah. Oh, has it? Okay, I must have missed that.
Yeah.
It won't be as good. I think.
No.
I think this was filled with, enough time had passed. They needed to prove themselves in terms of rebooting the franchise or whatever, and they, as you said, they were leaning, fairly heavily on nostalgia and these little fanboy moments. And I think whatever they do next, a plus will probably be that it will be quite original, but I think it'll be dumb original. It'll probably be military dinosaurs or some shit. Yeah. I think this movie by itself is a pleasant surprise, and I'm impressed, and I want to see it again, and I don't know. I'm just repeating you, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm trying not to, but yeah.
I mean, it like you said, it has made it is now officially the highest opening weekend of all time, which is fucking crazy.
I would never have predicted that.
No, not at all. And while I am still positive on the film, I just do wish that we could have good action and good characters and get a fucking blockbuster like that for once, please.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's enormously frustrating, because honestly, Trevorrow seems to have his heart in the right place. Everything he says, he seems like such a nice dude, and I don't know what the fuck happened. What in terms of character, because I guess he's only made one film, but that was a little character-based drama. He just. I don't know whether it was his decision or where it happened, but there's just nothing happens in the whole film. It's just, that's a little bit disappointing. I just wish we could elevate the blockbuster back up to some of the heights it was a little while ago. Not just the original Jurassic Park, but I mean in general. People seem to be much more easily impressed by, because there's more dinosaurs and explosions. It's instantly the biggest film of all time, not because it's a great story and great characters.
Yep.
Even though I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, that's why, before I was hesitant to say switch your brain off and all that stuff, because that's not a good way to approach movies. And a lot of reviews I've listened to or read have said kind of the equivalent of that. And it is a little bit annoying because it's like, well, there's plenty of big dinosaur action, and what more do you want? And it's like everyone forgets what's in the first movie. You know what I mean? Like, the memory now of these 4 movies is like, well, if they deliver good dinosaur action, then they're good, Yeah. And I know that, I was saying that's kind of what got me excited this time around. But I agree, it is a shame that we can't have both. We should be able to. Like, we used to, and it's rare that we do nowadays.
Yeah, totally agree.
Thanks for listening to the pre-post film review. We'd really love to hear what you guys thought of Jurassic World. Did you think that life found a way and it was good? Or did you think the movie was one big pile of shit, as Ian Malcolm would say? The way you can let us know is to email us at prepostfilmreview@gmail.com. And, we reply to every email we get, and we love hearing from you guys.
Yeah, so it's awesome.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah, that'd be cool. You can also like us on Facebook. That'd be awesome. And you can follow us on Twitter as well. We're at prepostfr. And we've sort of been doing a bit of a push lately to get a lot of interaction happening on Twitter. We've got news articles appearing up there and just cool things we like. And little updates on how the show's going. But the most important thing is subscribing to us on iTunes. And if you like the show, you can leave us a review there as well. That would be awesome. But if you don't use iTunes, you can also find us on Stitcher or any of the other kind of big podcast services or networks where we're kind of everywhere. You can find us wherever you like.
That's right. And if you can't get enough of our movie thoughts, and I can't blame you, really. You can also check us out on Letterboxd, which you'll find a link for in the show notes. It's a little film website, very community-based, and lets you log what movies you've been seeing and lets you rate them and write reviews. And it's just a great way to see what other people think of movies. It's just, it's great.
Good.
And you can join us next episode, guys, as we're going to be doing one of our little retro reviews. And we're going to be talking about the George Lucas film, his feature film debut, I believe, THX 1138, which should be interesting. So have a listen to that one. Hold on to your butts.
Don't go to Jurassic Park so early, right? This would be my pitch to Trevorrow. Spend the first, it doesn't have to be long, 3-4 scenes max, right, at the house. Have the little boy be almost like they'll be the main characters of the film. They have him be super dinosaur obsessed, which he kind of is in the film, but see him love dinosaurs. Have the parents on the brink of divorce, right? Like, they're arguing. The kids are in their room together.
They can hear the shouting.
Yeah, they can hear the shouting, right? The older brother doesn't want to deal with it, so he fucks off, climbs out the window to be with his girlfriend because he doesn't want to handle it. The little boy crawls under his Duna and hugs his dinosaur toy and reads dinosaur facts, and dinosaurs are his escape from the parents, right? And he feels the brothers abandons him every time. He can't trust his brother anymore. So then when he gets tickets to Jurassic World, it's like the fucking coolest fucking thing he's ever experienced in his life, you know what I mean? And you get to see his excitement as he runs around the park. His brother doesn't give a shit that he's there. He just wants to be back with his girlfriend. But over the course of the film, they like reconnect and end up, you know, looking after each other.
Man, that sounds so good. I wish that was in it.